the ability to make choices. We have morality, we have right and wrong, we are a soul, we represent something eternal, and we have an ultimate purpose. Now, here's why this is important. At both locations right now, you might be sitting here, and maybe after this, thinking a little bit about your heritage, maybe where you come from, how you've been brought up, maybe some relationships that have gone south or whatever like that, right? We're just thinking about where we've come from. And that can be tough to do at times, but I want to tell you something. It should be encouraging to know that we are not held captive by that heritage. We're not held prisoner by what has happened to us, by how we've been brought up or anything like that. We're not. We have the choice. You have decisions to make, and you are free to make those decisions. And how freeing is that? The second thing is this. Heritage, good or bad, you have an opportunity to live well with that, to do life really well. But it takes something, all right? So I want you to follow me on this. All right, I talked a few minutes ago about these apps right here. We all have these smartphones. Most of us have these smartphones, and we have these apps on there. And we get that first version. So apps come out when they're developed. They have version number 1. All right, version number 1 is always awful, right? It's buggy, it's glitchy, it doesn't work very well, it crashes your phone, it does things like that, right? And so since that's the problem, the designer of that app has to go back in there and recode some stuff. You got to reprogram it so that they can iron out those bugs, get rid of those glitches, make it so it doesn't crash things and all that. And so now you have version 2.0, right? So it takes the designer to get involved with its creation to improve it. I think you know where I'm going with this. Guys, the same thing is going to be true with us, right? There's version 1 of us. And version 1 is sloppy, and it's messy, and glitchy, and it's broken, and it's all of that. And the key to that fix is getting the designer, the creator of its creation, involved to help that fix. Because I got to tell you, I've experienced this in my own life. As I was growing up, I've told some of you before that, I come from a broken home. I do not know my biological father. My adopted father was an alcoholic. The marriage between him and my mom was absolutely awful. There was a lot of abuse and things, angering and fighting and things like that going on in our household all the time as I was growing up. He split when I was about 5th grade or so, all right, and didn't talk to him again for nearly a decade, right? And so I remember being a teenager, 18, 19 years old or so, and knowing that everything that I had saw when I was growing up was something that I did not want, right? I saw everything not to do. Right? And I was determined to make sure that that was not my life later on. Now, how to do that? I had no clue. Had no clue on how to do that until, like I said, about 20 years ago, I sat in this auditorium right here when my wife brought me for the first time, kicking and screaming, mind you, all right, to a church, right? And then all of a sudden, what changed? Jesus. I opened my heart up, I opened my mind up, and I allowed the designer to get involved with his creation. And that's the only difference. And it made all the difference for everything. So guys, that's the key. Version 1 is a mess and it's broken. Version 2, if you let the designer get involved with it, changes everything. So we make sure that that's our focus. We have that desire to have the designer involved in our life. We use his wisdom, and then we live right for God. That